Human respiratory system. Human respiratory system is an pulmonary ventilation, external and internal respiration. These are all discussed in this topic. Actually, it's a gaseous exchange in humans. In humans, just like the higher animals, the exchange of gases is carried out by the respiratory system. We can divide the respiratory system into two parts, the air passageway and the lungs. The air passageway consists of the part through which the outside air comes into the lungs, and after the exchange of the gases, it goes out. The passage of air consists of following part. How the gas is transported, the respiratory regulation processes, how's going on, and actually the physiology and anatomy of the respiratory system. The upper part, lower part, upper part related to the skull is started from the nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, and the nasal cavity have few bones. The nasal area has a bone which is called the vomer, which is present in the frontal lobe of your skull. The nasal activity, the ethmoid bone related to your ears. Then, these all bones are present in the skull. The pharynx, the second one is the pharynx. What is the function of the pharynx? The nasal cavity opens into pharynx by means of small opening called the nasopharyngeal internal nostrils. The laryngopharynx is a muscular passage and common both food and air. It extends to the opening of the esophagus and the larynx. The air goes from the pharynx into larynx, which is known as glottis, a narrow opening at the floor of the pharynx which lead to the larynx. Then the trachea. What is trachea? Trachea is actually a windpipe. It is about 12 cm long, leads to the esophagus. C-shaped cartilage present here. The cartilage keeps the trachea from the collapsing even when there is no air in it. It enters into the bronchi. The trachea is C-shaped cartilageous ring. The bronchi enter into the bronchioles. Progressively loose the cartilage has become the narrow and alveolar ducts. Each alveoli duct, these ducts open into the cluster of paunches called the alveoli. Right lung, left lung. Right lung has 3 lobes and the left lung has 2 lobes. The left lung is slightly smaller and has 2 lobes. The right lung is bigger. Upper covering having the 12 pair of the ribs with the intercostal muscles. Pulmonary arteries and veins are present, and the functioning of the heart also by pumping. The lungs also have the blood vessels and a membrane called the pleural membrane. Inspiration and inhalation. During inspiration, the ribs muscle contract and ribs are raised. But when the exhalation, the gaseous exchange in the lungs by impure air is expelled out. The ribs muscle relax, bringing the ribs back to the original position. But in inhalation, the dome-shaped diaphragm contract and lowered. This movement increase area of the thoracic cavity, which reduce the pressure on lungs. The breathing movements are involuntary to a large extent. However, we can control the rate of breathing, but not for a long time. It results the production of more carbon dioxide by the cellular respiration, which is released in the blood. The greater the normal concentration of carbon dioxide stimulates the respiratory center of the brain. The respiratory center sends message to the ribs and the diaphragm to increase the rate of the breathing, so that excess carbon dioxide present in the blood can be removed out of the body. During exercise or the other hard physical works, the breathing rate may increase up to 30 to 40 times per minute. The different pulmonary arteries from the heart containing deoxygenated blood and enters the lungs and the branches into arterioles and into the capillaries which surrounded the alveoli. Then these are joined together to form the venules which form pulmonary artery. The pulmonary veins carries the oxygenated blood back to the heart. The pons or medulla oblongata also the blood supply, and they always functioning of the breathing or respiration. They control this center, the fine tubules called the alveolar duct. During the heavy exercise, the rate of the breathing becomes increases, and the pulmonary arteries, the suppression of the